let's be honest, Android updates have become boring. We went from getting new and exciting features with each Android iteration to theft detection, improved productivity on foldable phones, but I don't even have a foldable phone. Look, I get it, innovating today is really hard, and this is true for almost everything in tech today. Take CPUs for both PCs and smartphones, which aren't improving as much as they used to. Graphics cards aren't giving gamers as big of a performance jump and are instead relying on upscaling features. Or how about Windows? The biggest update for Windows 11 24H2 was arguably the right-click menu icon labels. Dead serious. You could name 100 more things that have slowed down in a number of improvements given year to year, and so Android is not an exception. If we take a look at the whole timeline of Android updates, the most memorable out of all of them for me personally was probably Android 5.0 Lollipop. And just so you understand how big of a deal this update was, let me name some of the things that it introduced. Starting with the material design, which was a huge visual change from Android 4.4, a new lock screen, new battery saver mode, adaptive brightness, improved quick settings, new accessibility options, a new improved battery stats menu, better NFC integration, better notification system, general improvements in the overall performance. Oh, and to top it all off, the Flappy Bird Easter egg. Remember when Android update Easter eggs were actually really fun? Yeah. By the way, I didn't even list everything. There were so many little improvements among the big features that culminated in Android 5.0 Lollipop being, in my opinion, the best Android update from the last 10 years or so. Alright, but then what was the last good Android update more recently? Well, I would say that it must probably be Android 12, released just a couple years ago in 2021. Just like Lollipop, it introduced a whole new design to the OS with Material U that felt intentional and made both the visuals and, more importantly, the usability of the phone better and easier. It made colors, icons, and everything a lot more consistent across most apps and UI. I also really love these new big quick settings toggle buttons, though I would agree with many that there should be a separate mobile data and Wi-Fi toggles. But really, these big quick settings buttons were, no joke, one of the better upgrades considering how huge phones are today. Android 12 also introduced a bunch of features in general, like scrolling screenshots, easier Wi-Fi sharing, oh, and the indicators for when apps are using your camera or microphone. There's a bunch more, but overall, the visual overhaul, the features, is the reason why I probably look on Android 12 so fondly. It was an overall really good update. Good update in a sense. You see, while I was talking about all these features, I just remembered one thing that I just completely forgot to mention. Android skins. You see, it used to be that those big feature updates would be the pioneer in new and exciting things coming to the OS, but it feels like in more recent years, it's instead the individual phone manufacturers like Samsung, Xiaomi, OnePlus, Nothing, with their Android skins that are the ones who are bringing fun features to the platform. Like take something like the lock screen customization on Samsung's One UI and compare it to something like what's available on Google's flagship Pixels. There's just no competition. One UI gets a major W here with all the customization options that it offers. The glow up of Samsung going from TouchWiz to modern One UI needs to be studied seriously. In addition, many features that we mentioned earlier came to other phones first via skins, which makes Android as an OS kind of interesting. But why am I comparing One UI to the software that Google's offering on the Pixels? Linus recently made a great video discussing stock Android and showcased something that maybe some folks didn't even realize. And that's really that most phones today, even Google's Pixel, are using some form of an Android skin. Stock Android in its bare bones is quite literally bare bones. But in my opinion, Google with Pixel UI skin is the closest to stock Android, if only because it's made by Google, who owns the Android, and perhaps I think it shows the general direction that Android as an OS is heading to. And that direction isn't for everyone. Like I just said, in terms of customization, it's clear that Google isn't beating someone like Samsung or OnePlus with Oxygen OS. Same goes for many other features, as this user on Reddit compiled a list of stuff just straight up missing on Pixel UI. Perhaps Google's vision of Android is to be, simple, vanilla, and not to overwhelm its users with countless features. features. And in a way, I like that because today your Android experience will really depend on the type of phone you buy. So, if you buy a Pixel, you'll get the Google's vision of what Android is. Buy a Samsung and you'll get Samsung's unique features and customization. Get a nothing phone and get a unique looking font across the whole OS. But all in all, this is a really cool part of the Android ecosystem, as you can really get the experience tailored to what you like best. And speaking of best, why not get the best valued VPN with Surfshark? Surfshark VPN is literally the best VPN you can get for the money. And yes, the irony is not lost on me, as we're literally a Surfshark channel telling you this, but the features do speak for themselves. With Surfshark featuring 3,200 servers in 100 locations, what this means is that the overall VPN connection is a lot more stable compared to many other VPNs. But I also like the fact that Surfshark today isn't just a plain VPN, as it also comes with additional features like Clean Web for blocking ads, or Alternative ID, which lets me sign up on any website without using any of my real info, which is, I think, really cool. Or how about the additions of Surfshark Search, Alert, and Antivirus? Grab Surfshark today and use the code ACADEMY to get 3 additional months when buying Surfshark. Now, back to the video. So to answer the intro of this video, yes, Android updates as a whole are arguably very boring nowadays. But to answer the title of this video, have we reached peak Android? My answer is, quite honestly, also yes. And to add to that, we probably reached it years ago. Like, I'm talking 2019 kind of ago. And even going beyond software, smartphones have kind of stagnated in performance, camera, and battery. Actually, speaking of battery, we haven't seen a really good, decent battery improvements since like forever now. Android today is stable, customizable, feature-rich, efficient, and it just works. Like, my biggest frustrations with Android don't come from what it is, but rather what others are doing. Want to share a file with an iPhone? Gotta use a third-party app or service. Yeah. But okay then, what do you want from future Android updates if we're already at peak Android? My biggest ask is very simple, yet probably difficult to do, and that is, don't break stuff. No, seriously, every other Android update tends to have some amount of bugs at launch, which is, it's kind of normal with the number of the devices that are out there running Android, so it's hard to optimize updates for each device. But there's also a number of people using like third-party apps that also tend to break upon big updates, and that really sucks because there's probably a launcher, a customization app. Heck, sometimes Android updates tend to even break regular apps like social media ones. I don't really want to stir or discuss smartphone OS wars in this video, but it appears that Apple still, to this day, offers better stability and a more, let's call it, bug-free experience after big feature updates. And I'm comparing this to, Google Pixel devices, which Google can optimize for just as well as Apple can, but sometimes they just don't do that. So yeah, that's all I really want from Android updates. Just focus on more stability, less bugs, work with app developers to bring a smooth experience to not break apps. Oh, and battery optimizations. You can never get enough battery optimizations, especially standby battery life. And even more especially, you can't get enough of Surfshark Academy videos, so go check out this video next where I talk about why I personally no longer use custom Android ROMs on my phones. It's probably the most controversial video we ever made to date, but I'm allowed to have opinions, right? Right?